Arsenal have done it. They've beaten Champions League giants Real Madrid to progress to their first semi-final of the European competition since 2009. It's now between the Gunners, Paris Saint-Germain, Inter Milan and Barcelona to lift the trophy. And here's why Mikel Arteta's side will be victorious. First up, it's actually omens. The last and only time Arsenal reached a Champions League final in 2006, they did beat Real Madrid en route. Thierry Henry's amazing solo goal in the Santiago Bernabeu in the round of 16 was the only goal of the tie, as Arsenal knocked out Real Madrid's first Galacticos team that included the likes of Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldo, David Beckham, Raúl, Roberto Carlos and Iker Casillas. Arsenal are now the first English team to win away to Real Madrid twice and are the only club to have been drawn against Madrid at least twice in the history of European competition and not been knocked out by them. And the last time they won a European trophy, in the form of the 1994 European Cup Winners' Cup, they beat PSG in the semi-final. Ian Wright gave the Gunners the lead in the first leg in the French capital, but his goal was cancelled out by talkSPORT's David Ginola, who scored a header in the second half. The late great Kevin Campbell scored Arsenal's winner in the second leg, taking George Graham's side to the final, where they went on to beat Parma. Arsenal have already beaten Paris Saint-Germain this season too, albeit in the league phase. Kai Havertz and Bukayo Saka gave Arsenal a 2-0 win at the Emirates, and after the match, Paris boss Luis Enrique admitted his side couldn't cope with Arsenal's intensity.
We knew from the first minute they were going to press us high, of course, aggressive. And they did it great. We couldn't overcome that kind of pressure. And you can, after the match, it's easy to say that player has to play, the other player has not to play. Okay, I accept that like part of the game, but if you try to overcome that pressure, but you lose every single duel, you are going to be far away to win that match.
The location of the final could also get fans excited, as each time a Champions League final has been held in Munich, the competition has had a first-time winner. Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest won their first title in the city's old Olympic Stadium against Malmo in 1979. Marseille beat AC Milan there in 1993. Dortmund beat Juventus in 1997, and Chelsea beat Bayern Munich in the Allianz Arena on penalties in 2012.
Are Chelsea just about to make history? Drogba steps up, right-footed, and wins the European Cup for Chelsea. Absolutely extraordinary. Heartbreak in Moscow, delight in Munich. Chelsea win the Champions League, and they've won it on penalties, and Didier Drogba is the hero. Chelsea have the European Cup for the first time.
Yes, I know PSG also haven't won the competition yet, but let's just focus on Arsenal here. Another reason has to be the manager. It feels like Mikel Arteta is constantly the butt of the joke, being made into memes and criticised for only having won the FA Cup since he took over in the dugout. Fans are mocked for trusting the Arteta process. However, could that finally be paying off? Arteta started with 2 consecutive 8th place finishes in the Premier League as Arsenal boss, but now he feels his methods are paying off on the biggest stage.
It is reassuring, and I'm here to experience these kind of games and to go through them. I know that sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose, so be very critical with yourself tonight. There are things that we can still do much better, and I have to help the team to do better, but the biggest pride is when I look at them and I talk to them, how convinced they feel. And that's a big part of our job. I know the coaches, and that's why it's a joy to work with them.
Last season, when the Gunners were knocked out of Europe in the quarter-finals by Bayern Munich, they still looked inexperienced in the competition. They lacked the know-how to get the job done in Europe. Fast forward 1 year, and the work Arteta and his team have put in has to be applauded. To completely sweep a team like Real Madrid aside, becoming only the 5th club that has managed to eliminate the 15-time winners from the Champions League in the past 11 seasons is an enormous step forward. Under Arsene Wenger, Arsenal only made the Champions League finals twice in 19 seasons. Arteta has managed to get there in only his 2nd. Arsenal haven't lost a league game to a Big Six side for nearly 2 years, and that resilience in big games against big opponents is starting to breed results in Europe too. Despite 2 frustrating transfer windows in the last year in which a striker did not materialise, unless you count Mikel Merino, who is fast on his way to earning cult status at the club, a huge amount of injuries to key players and criticisms for their inability to chase Liverpool in the Premier League, the team have now transformed the outlook of their season and their standing in Europe. People may be talking about PSG's midfield, but Arsenal's strong defence is another reason why they could win the Champions League. Against Real Madrid, aside from William Saliba's error in the second half of the second leg, Arsenal reduced Los Blancos to very little in terms of opportunities and were able to keep the likes of Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham and Rodrigo at bay over both legs, which certainly impressed some of talkSPORT's pundits.
Arsenal made Madrid poor. The way Saka and Martinelli track back and were a threat going forward. We said it yesterday, Saka and Martinelli were causing problems like they did, but I don't know who Real Madrid thought they had up front, if they thought they had Peter Crouch or Jan Koller. The way they were crossing the ball out, I was confused. They're crossing the ball in for Mbappe, who doesn't want to head it.
I think they ran out of ideas, didn't they?
And just crossing the ball from anywhere. It was absolutely dreadful from Real Madrid, but Arsenal, they were the reason why Real Madrid had to cross it, because they're filled in every little space. Declan Rice was outstanding. Every Arsenal player covered every bit of ground in the stadium.
Gabriel might be out injured for the rest of the season, but his deputy at centre-half, Jakub Kiwior, had two outstanding matches against Real. Here's his goalkeeper, David Raya, on how impressive he's been.
I know how good Jakub is, and I'm very, very convinced and confident with him stepping in after the big injury that Gabi sustained against Fulham. So I wasn't surprised about his performance. I thought he was very, very, very good, and we know how good he is. He shows in training every day. So I was very, very happy with his performance, because that gives him confidence. But like I said, I wasn't surprised. It was a matter of time they can show his quality.
No one at the start of the season expected Miles Lewis-Skelly to be Arsenal's first choice left back, especially as they've got about 10 of them in the squad. But the teenager has had an unbelievable start to life in the first team and became just the third 18-year-old to start away at the Bernabeu in the Champions League knockout stage, after Schalke's Max Meyer and Arsenal's Cesc Fabregas in that 1-0 win back in 2006. Another reason has to be some of the star names that Arsenal possess. Before the first leg against Real Madrid, Bukayo Saka was asked about how far away he was from the attacking talent of the European champions.
I think it's very opinionated. I think everyone will have something different to say, but yeah, I don't really want to start sitting here saying they're a level above me and stuff like this, because that's not the way I think, So I'll just leave everyone to have their opinion, but, other things will speak for itself.
Saka might have straight batted the question in the press conference, but he showed on the pitch that his answer was deafening, outshining Mbappe, Vinicius and Rodrigo across the two legs. Even after missing a penalty in the first half at the Bernabeu, Saka proved it was his and Arsenal's night by dinking the ball over Thibaut Courtois to put the Gunners 4-0 up in the tie. And talkSPORT's own Simon Jordan has heaped praise on the player.
Well, I think he's the best winger in the world. I think he's better than Vinicius Jr. I think he's more effective, and I think him coming back into the side has given a shot in the Arsenal arm that's obviously created outcomes in this particular game. Declan Rice, both performances in the first leg at the Emirates and the second leg for a different reason, in a different way, in the Bernabeu, was a compelling force. But I think Saka, despite the fact he takes a Panenka and misses it, he goes and rectifies that by scoring a goal. I think he's a wonderful player, and I think he was a massive, massive miss for Arsenal in that period of time.
Yeah.
Now, Saka isn't Arsenal's only match winner. Declan Rice's free kicks will be the standout moments of the tie against Real Madrid, but his all-rounded midfield performances earned him man of the match in both legs. Here's his former West Ham coach, talkSPORT's Stuart Pearce.
He's imperious on the pitch. He's a physical specimen of a person. He keeps hold of the ball fantastically well, can find a pass, breaks things up. He's the all-round midfield player, and we've seen over these two games a man of the match performance tonight and two wonderful goals in the first leg that there's been a clamour for, when we've all been saying, come on Dec, give us a little bit more, we know you're capable of it. We've seen that, and he's driven his team over these two legs to a semi-final.
And Mikel Arteta was also full of praise for his £100 million midfielder.
Obviously, he's been decisive in the tie. Today, in a different way, I think it was immense. His presence, the power that he showed, how composed he was with or without the ball. I think he lifted the team in many moments and turned the game in our favor. And I think that's what you need, players at this level to step up and have big contribution, and he certainly has done that.
Declan Rice has been brilliant for Arsenal since joining from West Ham 2 years ago, but it was nights like this and performances like this that Arsenal smashed their transfer record for. And finally, it's because technology's on their side. Opta's supercomputer, which predicted Arsenal would knock Real out of the tournament, puts the Gunners favourites to win the Champions League for the first time with a 28.7% chance. Inter are behind that with 25%, so there's not that much in it, but I'm sure Arsenal fans will take it. Arsenal have now played more games in the Champions League without winning it than any other team, with 199 matches. So surely it's about time they lift the biggest prize in European football. Let us know in the comments if you think Arsenal can win the Champions League. Thanks for joining me, and make sure you subscribe for all the latest football news here on talkSPORT.